Sitting out here killing time, waiting on my fishing buddy. There he is. Oh man, look at that fish. I'm sitting here waiting to do what I rarely ever do, and that's crappie fish. That fish is strong, man. Hey, we're traveling today to the world famous Lake Fork, Texas, home of giant bass. But we're not gonna be fishing for bass. I'm a little early, so I thought, well, I might throw my little 10-inch power worm out here and see if I can maybe get a bite. I'm gonna hook up with my buddy Kurt Kelly, who is a wildlife officer, who is a world champion crappie fisherman. He used to be a bass fisherman, and he has got converted to catching these big crappie out of Lake Fork. So we're going out there in the middle of the summer, the 4th of July. But Lake Fork's a great place to be because it's a lot of timber. So it's gonna be fun. Stay with me. I'm Hank Parker. Look at this. And we're going crappie fishing. Boy, that's a nice one there. It's gonna be a tough day for me to start out. Ooh, I love these big fish. And I'm going crappie fishing. Wow, what a great fish right off the bat. All right. We ready to go fishing?
Yes, sir.
Well, we head to Lake Fork, Texas. Pretty cool place to be. And all these giant bass, man, you go in these marinas and they got giant bass all over the wall, but we're not bass fishing. I'm fishing with my buddy Kurt Kelly, who is a wildlife officer that loves to crappie fish. Now, if you're in Carolina, you'd say crappie fishing. But if you're in Texas, you say crappie fishing. For the sake of our Texan brethren, we're gonna say crappie when we talk about how to catch them.
Got a good wind though. I like this right here. We got just enough wind.
Now, Kurt, I'm expecting all this information, and I took my Wally Marshall slab catching rods, Mr. Crappie rods. I had all that stuff ready to rock and roll. And Kurt said, let me tell you what I think. We're gonna go out, it's 4th of July, it's 100 degrees. We're gonna catch these fish fairly deep, gonna catch them out of the brush. I think we need to take our medium light bass rods. I think we're gonna be better off than with our really light crappie rods. And he was right, I tested that.
Right there, you're right on top of it.
So he said, it's nothing fancy. I can't tell you anything to bring. We'll fish 1/8-ounce jigs and monofilament high visibility line. I said, Kurt, have you ever fished with fire line? He said, you know, I don't think I ever have. I said, well, if you ever fish with fire line, you'll throw all that monofilament away. This stuff is amazing. Let's put on there some 6-pound fire line. Well, I'll be honest with you, Kurt didn't listen to me right off the bat. And I'm looking over there and he's hung up, he breaks off his jig. He's hung up, he breaks off his jig. Well, I never did break off a jig. I'd get hung up, I'd pull and straighten my hook out and then straighten my hook back, bend it back, and go back to fishing. This stuff was amazing. Wasn't long, Kurt was fishing with some fire lines, 6-pound test, high vis, and this made all the difference in the world. So you just put a brush pile in between the stumps?
Yes, sir. And that way you can fish on either wind. You can fish either a north wind or a south wind.
What about an east wind?
You can fish an east wind too.
What about a west wind?
And a west wind.
What about a southeast wind? What about a southwest wind?
Any kind of wind, as long as we got wind. As long as we got wind, any
You
kind
had
of
it
wind.
on anchor. Why'd you take it off anchor?
I want to get a little closer.
Do you know when you're catching big bass, it's hard if you're a bass fisherman to go crappie fishing?
Yeah, this is wearing you out. You want to pick up one of them big worms, don't you?
Well, I didn't say that. Do you freshen this brush up every day, every year, every month, every week? How often?
Sometimes we freshen them up once a year mainly for most of them, and then there's a few that'll produce a lot of fish, and we'll go back and put out some brush, say in late July, early August, to kind of get them ready for the fall bite, which you know is pretty good here also during November and after October and November. Good.
You know, most people can't catch crappies when it's 101 degrees. All right, let me ask you another question. Do you think getting on top of them, even with this troll motor on anchor, it goes this way, that?
I think that when you first pull up on a brush pile, you
oh my goodness, now that's what they call a slab.
like right now, it's kind of hot. Their presentations, they just may want it straight up and down, just kind of like that one
Now,
up there.
I'm not a guy that fishes enough for crappie to be any kind of an expert, so I'm not going to claim. But Kirk really is an expert. He's gone out, he's sunk these brush piles between these stumps, he's got all these waypoints, he's got all these places, and we're out there knowing that it's going to be a really tough day. 105 degrees forecast for a high. It was 102 yesterday, so it's cooled off.
Cooled off quite a bit. And as long as we keep this breeze up, me and you'll be okay.
So we go out there, and I'm gonna tell you, Kirk starts putting it on me pretty good. And he's got little blue jigs and little purple jigs and different little jigs. And I've got some power jigs, but I didn't put them out. I'm fishing with him. I'm gonna do his thing. Oh, look at that caveman go.
You like that one?
And so I just keep doing what he's doing. And I look, and every little bit he's reaching in his pocket.
That was a limb.
Hadn't figured that one out.
Woo! That's a nice one.
He wasn't too nice. He bit the wrong bait. Well, he keeps reaching in his pocket and reaching in his pocket and reaching in his pocket. I mean, every little bit he's up there fooling with his bait. Of course, he's got his back to me. And I say, hey, Kurt, what are you doing? He said, I'm putting a little nibble on my bait. Makes him bite it?
When it's slow, it does.
Well, would you say it's slow?
I would say it's very slow.
He said, Berkeley makes this. It's called a crappie nibble. And he said, I put them on my bait, and he said, it's more important in color, it's more important in shape, it's more important in weight. It's the most important thing that I put on that bait, a crappie nibble. Just a little nibble, and you put it on the hook, you throw it in there, and you catch a fish. He was wearing me out until I started getting my own little crappie nibbles. He puts them in a jar and puts them in his pocket. And he just pulls them out and puts them on his hook, about every other cast. And it made a world of difference. I wouldn't have thought that, but it made a world of difference. You just put that little crappie nibble on there, pitch it in there, hold your line tight, watch that little yellow line, that little fine line jump, set the hook, wind in your crappie. And we caught some really good ones. Woo, a slab fish. Look what my man done took and caught. Hey, don't go away. It's gonna get even hotter. Come a little bit closer. You're my kind of man, so big and so strong. How you like it?
I like that. There's just nothing on the end of it after I pull it up.
Oh no, I was talking about my singing.
Oh, well, do I have to say?
Hank's Show is made possible in part by Luz. Feel the difference. And by Minn Kota. Soft Science, Solar Bat, and Talon. Now it's time for Hank's Tip of the Day.
So
Let's talk about my big guy here.
Okay, yes, especially on this lake. You know,
Yeah.
these things are,
Oh yeah.
these are money. You know, we've always had a power bait jerk shad. We've never had a true fluke, and we've been told that several times. But you know, a true fluke is different than our jerk shad. We just made a bigger minnow is what we made. And it had, the beauty of this one is we deepen the belly a little bit, which gives it that keel. Like we were looking at on hard baits, it allows it to cut. Of course, we have the hook slide in there to make it good. This little thing is, remember the pit boss and how you hide your hook? We took that technology and put it in here.
I love that. I love that. Look at that right there. You can take your hook and come out, and you've got a rib there that you can put the tip of that hook in. So you're all the way through that big fat body, and by the way, it's cut out for your hook. So your body's not gonna eat the hook up, as if it were solid. So it's cut out, it's got a slot, but then above all of that, it's got these little ribs to hide your hook in. So you could hide a 2/0, a 3/0, a 4/0, or even a 5/0. And I like a bigger hook. So this bigger body, this is bigger than the old jerk shad, so it will allow me to use a bigger hook, which I like. And you've got a slot there for the bigger hook.
That's right. So you've seen a lot of times fish come up and slash at these baits, right? They're not really eating it, they're just slashing at it. And a lot of times when they'll grab it, but then if your hook dives down into your bait, you're done. You're never gonna get,
That's right.
You're never gonna stick that fish. This takes the material out of there and allows that hook point to pop out.
That.
Get them.
That is really awesome. And again, we go back. It's little things that make big difference. Everybody wants you to pull a bait out and say, okay, if you put this bait out there, they're gonna come out with their fins up. It doesn't work that way. It's little subtle changes, little improvements, little things that mount to big difference. Face it, we've been working on all this stuff for 50 years.
Yeah.
Bass fishing's on fire. There's millions of fishermen. There's millions of inventors. There's all sorts of designs and everything that you could possibly think of. And when you get a winner, when you get something that is a killer bait, and you can make little subtle improvements, that's a big deal.
Exactly. Better mousetrap.
That is where you win tournaments. That's where you catch more fish, is those little subtle differences. And that is a brilliant idea, to be able to just barely hide that hook tip right there. It's concaved. You've got your slot already for the hook so it doesn't eat up your hook when you set the hook. It just gives you that advantage. And at the end of the day, if you're fishing in a bass tournament and you get 15 strikes and you catch 9 of the 15 versus 15 of the 15, the odds are greatly in your favor. You're going to have a better string of fish.
That's exactly right. That's why we do this.
I fish for fun. I hate missing a fish. I don't like to get a bite and not catch him. I want to catch everyone that bites. I shot the sheriff. Not having wind's killing us, isn't it?
It is killing us.
Here he comes to save the day.
We're fixing to go north.
We're going north because we did not have a nibble on the nibble. Tell them why we're fixing to go north.
Because the crappie are not biting down south.
So we're going to go north.
Yeah.
And we'll have more wind.
We'll have more wind, although the wind has picked up just a little bit.
Tell them why we need wind.
Well, we need wind because fish bite better when there's a little bit of wind, kind of keeps everything stirred up. Makes the bait move a little bit more. That's the country boy theory. What's the fisherman's theory?
When that wind's got a little ripple on the water, it doesn't allow the light penetration, so the fish don't have quite the visibility that they have when it's slick. And when it's slick, they can see that these little glued up jigs are a trick.
The old one's to the left, the new one's to the right.
Got him? I saw where you threw that. Bass fish, isn't it?
You know, it's big old
Oh,
crappie.
it's a crappie. Isn't
That's a
it?
thumper right there.
That is a crappie. That's a stomper. Look at that. Look at that.
You see right through?
I did. I saw it. Nibble was on there too. Let me see that thing. Wow. Wish I could catch one like that. I missed it.
We are counting, right?
No. Oh, looky here, looky here. Oh, looky here. Yeah, let's have a competition.
You mean to get that for you?
Big fish of the day. Let's bet like $10 million. Right there, buddy, is how you do it.
That ain't very nice.
Yee-haw. That's what we call an old car tag right there. That's a slab.
That is a slab.
That is a slab. Have you ever caught one like that? You have? Come on now. I noticed a few things about you. Good gracious alive, man.
What's that?
You like to catch all the fish and keep all these other brush piles a secret. You put out 3 and you tell me where there's 1. So that gives you 2 that you have completely to yourself. Now you come over here and get on my spot. So that means you're gonna catch 3 times more fish than me.
I think we're even.
Hank's Show is brought to you in part by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Mercury Marine, go boldly. This portion of Hank's Show is brought to you by Berkeley. Catch more fish.
You know, it is really great to be able to meet new friends. I went out to speak at a church and I met Kurt, and we started talking, and it didn't take long, we hit it off. And I'd always wanted to do a crappie show where you get out on the ledges, not necessarily using live bait, and fish a jig and finesse fish, and that was right up his alley. So we set that thing up, and I asked him when we got out there, I said, give me a good hotel that I can stay at on Lake Fork. Now it's 4th of July. So I'm thinking this could be bad. He said, no, I got a great friend, Rick Loomis, and his wife, Mary, and they'll let you stay. They've got a great bunkhouse right beside of their house. So Rick and Mary, I'm gonna give you a thumbs up and thank you so much for your hospitality. And Rick actually ran camera boat for me a couple of days. So we hung out on the water as well as in the evenings and telling all kind of fish tales. We caught more fish at night than we did in the daytime, and that's always fun. And that is what fishing, it brings people together, and that's what fishing's all about. Rick was a guide on Lake Fork for many, many, many years, and a really, really good guide. Caught many a big bass. So really cool to get to hear all the Lake Fork fishing stories and hang out and meet new friends and hang out with Kurt and trying to catch those crappie out there in 100-degree weather. I may do a little bit more crappie fishing in the future. That was pretty special. All right, we got our little Berkeley crappie nibbles, and they stink like power bait. So is it a power bait nibble? And I should know this.
Yes, it is. I've got one right here.
Never crappie fish. Okay, I have seen these. I've seen these. Matter of fact, they've sent me a jar of these. So you use these all the time?
We use them all the time. When it gets tough, that's what we use. Yeah, we just stick them right on the hook.
All right, tell me about your little jig.
Well, the jigs are hand poured, the actual heads. Now, the actual bodies, these are made by Bobby Garland. That's called a slab slayer. That's a 2-inch body, and that particular color is called gumdrop, which has been an awesome bait for us this year. And then this bait here is another slab slayer, and it's bluegrass is what they call it, and it's been also real good. That's been the two main baits we've been using.
And you actually hook your long ways where you got more of them on the
I try to
body.
get as much on it as I can, and if you'll look at them when they get in the water, if you'll sit in the water, you'll actually see there's a film that comes off of it.
Until it melts.
It does.
So when you pull it out of the water,
white stuff that's coming off of it.
This portion of Hank's Show is brought to you by Berkeley. Catch more fish. Yeti coolers, built for the wild.
Them little children over there get a whole lot smarter than we are. They're a whole lot, they're doing what you're supposed to do on the 4th of July. You see that right there? All in all, 4th of July, 100 degrees. We had an incredible day on Lake Fork catching crappie in the middle of the summer. Hot, golly, plumb, it was hot.
What?
And you think I'm impressed.
Here, let me get over here. Yeah,
Hey.
I'm gonna back over here.
Hey,
I'm gonna get over here.
how far away from and I give him a hard time. Did I ever give him a hard time? Do I not give everybody a hard time? I cut him zero slack. I gave him the hardest time. I want to keep the fish and throw you back. How's that? Let me tell you something. Kurt Kelly's one of the finest guys I've ever met in my life. He is a super guy. Got really thick skin because I could lay it on him. Buddy, he'll give it back to you too. I like it.
I'm gonna borrow your slime rag since it hadn't been used in a while.
Oh. So you had good interaction all day long. And when you summarize it, wasn't a real sophisticated show. It was about keeping that line tight, watching that fire line and that bright fluorescent yellow. My granddaughter corrects me all the time. She says, Pawpaw, it's not yesterday, it's yesterday. It's not yellow, it's yellow. So watching that fluorescent yellow line on that Monday fishing trip was just awesome. There him is, there him is. Hey.
What?
There he is. Hey, I tell you, man, it was unbelievably hot. 4th of July. Let's go crappie fishing in Lake Fork on the 4th of July. One cool thing is there's enough timber. You're not going to be bothered with water skiers and jet skiers and all the things that go with the 4th of July. So we had it to ourselves. Water temperature, you could almost boil shrimp in the water. It was crazy hot. And we really needed to stay cool. It was like 105 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
But all of that, Kirk told me, he said, if you come out here at the 4th of July, we can catch crappie. I said, you're crazy. He said, no, we can do it. Well, he's right and I'm wrong. We caught them and we just had to stick with it, persevere, but it was a fantastic time for me and I really, really enjoyed it. Something I don't do a lot. I hope you enjoyed it and I'm gonna do it again someday. So you'll have to stay tuned and watch every episode to figure out when I'm going crappie fishing. But I'm gonna hook up with Kurt Kelly again, my buddy, and we're gonna go catch some crappie. Thanks for being with me today. God bless you. I'm Hank Parker.
And don't forget to visit us at hankparker.com, the place for tips, giveaways, and more.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at? Gone fishing.